Okay. Well, welcome to Haleyville, Dr. Thomas. We are happy to have you with us this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed visiting our campus sites. I know you've spent the afternoon with Ms. Jones and Mr. Vickery, and have met some of our faculty and staff. I wanted to introduce you to the rest of the board. I'm Beth McAlpin, currently serving as board president. Additionally, we have Mr. Boo Houghton and Mr. Chad Tidwell. And we have, on behalf of the entire board, we appreciate your interest in our school district. We think it's a great place and think you will too. Today, each of us will rotate turns asking some questions which will help direct our conversation.
Tell him to come in.
Yeah, tell them to come on in.
Yeah,
He needs to stick his hand
Who
in
is
there.
that?
that was our Senator Garland Judge.
Yes.
Senator, yeah, he needs to come in. Should be right to change. Y'all get the
Mr. Pro Tem.
Yeah,
Are they not coming in?
we sorry about that.
You're not, no, you're not bothering me.
It's rare that he stopped by and he was pointing his finger at me.
They're getting a picture made, then they're going to.
Oh, they're getting the picture made, okay.
Okay. Well, our desire is for this time to provide us and you the opportunity to share ideas and to get to know each other better. To get us started, would you take just a few minutes to briefly review your educational work and history, work history?
Yes, ma'am. Well, let me first say that I appreciate the opportunity to be here and had a wonderful introduction to your school system. What a wonderful place it is. Got a hometown feel about it, and I really, really did enjoy that. Appreciate Ms. Jones and Thumper, Mr. Vickery. I'm working on that. For showing me around. I just want to say that I appreciate it. I started out my educational career at Rahama Junior High School in DeKalb County. I was a 5th grade teacher, taught all subjects, and then moved to 5th grade math, 6th grade math, and then intervention 7th and 8th grade as well. My plan after that was to go and take the junior high, actually the K-8 school principal position. I'd applied for the K-8 principal position, and superintendent at the time had stated that he liked the idea and was going to put me there. He come and met with me the next day and said, "I've changed my mind." And I thought, man, I've blown it. What did I do? I did something wrong here. And the reality was, he said, "I need you with me at the central office." And I said, "We're breaking rules here. I got to be an assistant principal. I got to be a principal. Then I can, go to that role." I had experience in leadership in the business world prior to getting into education, and he knew that. And he said, "It's okay. You're going to have plenty of opportunities to work in the principal environment because we have some places that will need you." So I went directly to the central office out of the classroom. I since did interim principal duties at an elementary school, at a K-12 unit school, and then also at a high school. So I have the high schooling and principaling experiences on an interim basis. I've been an assistant superintendent and now chief of staff, which means I'm over the other assistant superintendent for 12 and a half, going on 13 years now, a long time. My education experience has been primarily in DeKalb County, which has 12 total schools. We have 1,100 employees. We have between 7,500 and 8,500 students as it fluctuates up and down. We have a career tech center, and it's rural Alabama. Just there's a lot of us, and so that's the work that I bring to the table.
Well, sounds like you've been lots of places. And so with that being said, we will get started. Our first question is, what do you see as the role of the superintendent as it relates to employee groups, students, and the community? How would you characterize your relationships with employee groups in your current position?
It's a great question. I'm going to break it up, if I could, by those groups, because I think the superintendent's role is a little different for each group. You started with employee groups. And so I think the superintendent's role to teachers, staff, administrators, first of all, is to take the board's vision, the plans that have been established by the board, and take those visions and make sure that they're getting to the people that need them, that the visions and goals are established and we understand the path we're on together. I believe also that the superintendent's responsible for bringing the support professional development that they need to achieve those goals. So if we've set the goals, are we setting them up to be successful? The superintendent has to take hold of that and make sure that they're on top of what does the school need? What does it need down to that very classroom level? And are we giving them the things that they need? I believe the superintendent is key in communication and trust. If the superintendent's not communicating well with the whole staff and letting them know what's going on, then there's going to be confusion. You're going to have people going in different directions. So I think communication is really important when it comes to the role of the superintendent. I think accountability is important. Both accountability and I'm going to say transparency. Trust is so key in our industry. Trust is so key in our industry because without trust, you have people that are working for different goals, but when they believe in the vision that's been set by this board and by the community at large, when they believe in that vision, then they'll get behind it. And obviously, some things are already going very well because there's good success going on here, right? So the superintendent needs to come in, whoever it is, and continue that work. It's not about making these huge changes. It's about how do we continue to share that vision of showcasing what Haleyville is and what it's capable of doing. And I think also a superintendent should advocate for their teachers. Y'all mentioned there was a senator or somebody coming by. Like somebody needs to be talking to these people about what's going on in the school buildings.
That's right.
And so I got a thumbs up on that one, all right. So advocacy is really important, I think, in the superintendent's role. Now with the students, that advocacy continues, right? Because we're here for students. And so you need to know, as the board, what is going on in schools, and I know you're all well connected. There's no doubt Ms. Jones knows half of everybody here, like y'all are connected. But the superintendent needs to make sure that you're connected and that you have this information and that you know what's going on all the way down to that student level. So I think the superintendent's a voice for students. I think that equity and opportunity must exist across all playing fields so that all students are getting the opportunities that they deserve no matter what group they're coming from, and the superintendent is somebody that can make a difference there. And then finally, I think in today's society we want to make sure that we're giving students a voice. And I noticed there's some programs that you already have, a television program at the middle school, we have it going on here tonight, different ways that you're showcasing how students can share what they want to contribute, and I think a superintendent can help that happen. All right, two more groups. One more group was with the community. And so with the community, the superintendent's the bridge. This bridge between the school system and the community. Somebody needs to be in contact with community leaders, communicating with them on a regular basis so that we're all working together. There is already, you can tell, you drive down the streets and you see the pride in Haleyville City Schools. You see the different companies and organizations that are saying, hey, we want to be a part of your school system. The superintendent helps make that happen, right? So it's about advocating, partnering, building that trust and accountability with mayors and city councils. It's about being visible and access, right? So superintendent needs to be present. If the school's doing it, the superintendent needs to be there. That's my opinion, because the superintendent is ultimately the face, right? And people don't want to talk to somebody else. They want to talk to the superintendent. And so I think being available is very important to the community. So I think I covered all three. You last asked a follow-up to that. How would I characterize my current relationship? So I told you I kind of skipped a role and then kind of went back and filled it in. And so I knew that when I started day one as a supervisor and then was named assistant superintendent, that I had to earn the respect of not one principal at that time, it was 13 principals, knowing that I hadn't always done exactly the same role that they had done, not at that particular time. And so this is what I did. I decided I would work harder than everybody else in my building. I would be everywhere. I would answer every question. I would do whatever it takes to let them know that I cared about them and that they could trust me. So it's really hard to answer this question. I want y'all to know, you want to be a humble human being, so when you ask a question like that, it's hard to answer it in a humble way. I believe probably right now you could ask anybody in my district, teacher, administrator, central office staff, if they trusted the work I did. I don't know that you would find anybody that would say they didn't. I've been there too long. and I try to be consistent and fair, and I listen to everybody. That doesn't always mean that I agreed with everything that they did, and it doesn't mean that I hadn't had to do hard work. I deal with all the human resources issues with teachers and staff. I deal with all the difficult stuff. But I treat people with fairness every single time. And so I would give you their numbers, and you can call them. You can call any one of my administrators, and I don't believe any one of them would say something negative about the work that I do. And that's because I've done it consistently over time. Now, you'll have to forgive me for that. I'll try not to brag through it, but I don't know how to tell you what you asked without saying it that way. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bryan, we are ready for the second question. And if you don't mind, when you, remember I told you about my problem? Can you get a little bit closer to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
microphone? Thank you. Okay, we have 5 quality finalists for this position. As we select a new superintendent for Haleyville City Schools, what are the top 3 strengths and attributes you believe you bring to the table that our district could benefit from?
It's a really good question. I believe that this is in no specific order. These are the 3 that kind of rose to the top of my current work. I would say that I'm a good communicator. I am a bivocational pastor and have been for 15 years. Speaking is something that I do regularly, every week, multiple times. I've spoke to large groups. I've spoke in front of national conferences of thousands of people. I've spoken to city councils, town councils, and small groups, civic organizations. Speaking is something that I feel like that I do well. But even more than the speaking side, I feel like that I listen well. And that I believe in active listening and taking time to give your time to that person. It doesn't matter what status they're in. It doesn't matter if it's a student, a teacher, a principal. That person deserves to be valued. That's my personal feelings about I believe they deserve value. And the only way they're going to really know is if you take time and listen to what they have to say. Anybody that thinks that they've got it all figured out and they have all the information is hurting themselves when they don't listen to others. Because you're only going to add to what you already have when you bring in new ideas. And so I believe communication is a key skill that a good superintendent has to have, because he has to be able to take these big ideas or these complex ideas and be able to share them. He has to be able to motivate people to follow. If you can be the greatest leader ever, but if nobody follows you, not much of a leader. And so you have to be able to communicate that great vision, grand vision, and others buy into it so that they can achieve those goals together. Secondly, I would hope it's my integrity. If I say that, and if I say it, I want to stand by it. I believe that the word is strong, and we should do what we say. And I believe in current society, when you have scandal after scandal on Facebook and on the news, that's not anything we need in schools. We need to have a high level caliber of honor. I was both by my Christian background, the way I was raised, the way my father raised me. I'm an Eagle Scout, went through Boy Scouts, and learned leadership skills at a young age, and I was taught integrity is important. And it only takes one slip up to lose your integrity. And so I believe that's something you do every day. And then thirdly, I would say that I'm knowledgeable. Because of my longevity at the central office level, I have been over nearly every program. I haven't been the CSFO, I haven't been a federal programs director, and I haven't been the superintendent. But I have been over every other department in education. So I've learned about construction and building projects and finances. I've been a technology coordinator. I've worked in curriculum. I've worked in student assessment. I've had my hands on all parts through COVID and through all the things that we learned in that process. I believe I bring a lot to the table. One particular area I think that I should note is the district that I'm currently in has a high English learner population. And I think that's something that the whole state of Alabama is working with, and it's a growing thing from schools to school. And so we've learned a lot of things over the last several years about how to move that needle in the right direction. And so I bring that to the table as well. And finally, I'll say this on knowledge. I handle all things legal in our office. And I believe it's important you better know the rules, you better know the policy, you better know what it is that you're following and trying to do. And so I believe I bring a great deal of knowledge in doing things the right way, which goes back to my integrity and keeping us on the straight and narrow, doing it the right way. You're welcome.
So we want you to describe your decision-making style and give us a few examples of your strategies that you've used in different situations.
I think the type of decision that's being made and the scope is important to consider here. For example, if you're making a decision that's going to have long-lasting results, it's going to affect lots and lots of people, you better have a process in which you're going through, like a strategic plan, like a capital plan. These are long-range plans that impact a lot of individuals. And so thinking through that process, that shouldn't be something that's done behind closed doors between two people. That should involve capital planning, in my opinion, and I've led capital planning and I've led strategic planning. I've been through that twice, 2 5-year plans over a 10-year period of time. We brought in community members, we brought in mayors, and of course, a county system, we have a large scope, businessmen, parents, families, students. We had student representatives on it because it's a plan that is going to impact everybody. So what did we do? We collected data, surveys, we found out feedback, we went and did small, so because we had multiple communities, we went community to community, had small town halls, collected information, then brought that together with the team, you come up with a plan. So decision making in that regards is very data driven, and it's very holistic in its approach. Now you can't do that with every decision that you make. You got a parent comes in and they're upset because their child was kicked off the team. Right? We're not hosting a team committee meeting to deal with that. So what do? Number one, as I've already stated, we listen first because that parent deserves to be heard. Their concern is their child, and that's important to them. So you treat people fairly and you listen. I would collect the parent side. I would collect the school side. Now my first responsibility is to be a protection, if you will, between the school and those difficult situations. I'm going to protect principals and assistant principals and teachers unless they've broken policy or we've went offline, right? Because ultimately we need to do what's right. Ultimately we need to do what's right. So in that case, I would listen to the parent, find out the other side of the story, look at the policy, see where it lands, look at past practice. Are we treating people fairly, equitably? And then make a decision. And then communicate that decision to all the parties involved. I think one of the problems we have sometimes is that we wait a long time and we don't clearly explain to people why it is we're doing what we're doing. Why? If you just tell them why, even if they disagree with you, they'll understand why. Instead of just saying, sorry, I'm not going to do that. So I believe you communicate clearly and transparently. Now, if at all possible, I believe in a 24-hour rule. And that means unless there's something of a major emergency, something that has to be dealt with right then, if you can wait 24 hours, a lot of times cooler minds will figure it out. And they'll be able to work through it. That way we're not making hasty decisions, but we're being methodical about it. I do encourage parents, if they've come to the central office, I ask them this question: have you spoken to the principal yet? Because a lot of times they want to go right to the top, but they've not actually talked to the one who made the decision. There might be a good explanation and they understand it. Or they may bring new information to the table and that principal didn't have that information. So I encourage always start and work through it, right? There's always a chain of command that will get you to the place. There's always a way to get your question heard. And I'm not going to turn people away, but I encourage them, the fastest way to resolve problems is to start at the place where it occurred. And so that's the kind of rules that I live by when making decisions.
With funding tight, teachers, administrators, and support staff have taken on more and more responsibilities. What would you do and say to keep them encouraged and their morale up?
It's a great question. And it's a reality with ESSER funding ending. Although Alabama has had pretty good results, Haleyville has pretty low local funding as compared to other systems. So I can see this being an important topic. Matter of fact, when I researched the system, this was what before the questions came out, this was what I put as, this is a top priority issue. So first thing is number one, are we operating efficiently? And the only way to find that out is to listen. Again, you want to talk to the people that are in the trenches doing the work. And so what is actually going on? So if this is an issue at the classroom level, where a lot of work's been put on the classroom level, which through some of the state initiatives and laws that's been passed recently, there's a lot being put on classroom teachers. Is this administrators who feel like they've gained responsibilities? Where is it at? Talk to those people, because they may have really good ideas. I'm going to give you an example. In my district, we had a lot of grumbling. Same thing. We were worried about losing teachers. We're worried about teacher retention. And so I personally went school to school, and I set up a listening tour. I let them know I was coming in advance. They got to pick whoever they wanted to talk to me. I didn't bother me who they chose. Like, I'm ready to hear. And I took notes and I listened, and then we went back to the central office and said, what can we do to fix these problems? Now, some of them were state things. We couldn't change it. It was state law. But there were some things that we could change. So number one, are we operating efficiently? Can we take anything off their plates that they don't necessarily have to have? Could somebody else do that work? And I found that there were cases we could do that. Number two, I'm going to say you better celebrate them. They're working hard. We have employees in education that spend hours and hours and hours up here. I saw a Facebook post that had cars here, and it was dark outside, right? People getting ready. Let them know. Partner with your local communities to celebrate your teachers and those people that are working every day. Let them know how much it is that you care about them. You also need to understand, what does it take to keep people? What does it take to retain people? Now, it's just my understanding, and y'all know Haleyville better than I know Haleyville, but it's my understanding this is a small town. People know each other, love each other, tightly connected. That's important. And if that community feel if anything's eroding away at that community feel, we have a problem here. Because that's why people stay here. They stay here because they're a part of Haleyville, and it's important to be a part of Haleyville. So you can't let those funding issues, become an issue that gets down into the morale of teachers. Why is it that teachers stay? Teachers stay because it feels like home. They like being a part of it. Why do teachers leave? Well, if you look at the research on teacher retention, they leave when classrooms are or there's no discipline, right? Okay, so is student discipline occurring? When they feel unsupported by their administrators, and when they got too much paperwork. It's the top 3 reasons in most research on teacher retention. So can we work with those things? And I think we can work with all 3 of those things. We can do something about it. And speaking of funding, I think you need to be creative in finding funding sources. I think you need to go after grants. I think you need to look at partnerships with other school districts. I think we need to look at how we're spending money, and are we doing the best we can? Have we accounted for every child, or are we getting the funding for the students that are coming? Is that 20 days after Labor Day we're in right now? Are all the students getting here on time? If not, who's not, and why are they not? Because we want them counted. Because if they're counted, then they're going towards our ADM, and we're going to get the money for them. So several things I think you need to be creative. But when ultimately it comes down to that question, how do you keep them encouraged and morale up? when the victory is theirs, don't you claim it as your own. I hope that makes sense to you.
What do you see as the role of superintendent as it relates to the school board?
Well, outside of what state code sets up the superintendent as the secretary of the board, there's so much more than that. Again, I go back to the superintendent implements the vision of the board. So the superintendent takes all the policies that have been established by this board and makes sure that they're going into action. Make sure that they're well communicated and that they're received throughout the whole district and to the community at large. The superintendent also should be providing the board with relevant information. Now, all you may be super connected, and I know at least Ms. Jones was an educator, and I don't know about the rest of you, but it's the superintendent's job to make sure you fully understand everything that's happening, especially big decisions and changes. The day-to-day operation, superintendent should keep it out of your hair, but if something's coming up, the superintendent needs to be talking to you and letting you know. The superintendent needs to have ongoing conversations, needs to understand what it is that you're hearing, what feedback are you receiving, so that we can then take it and put it into action and do good things with it. And so that communication is high level, and people communicate differently. Some people are great with text, some people are great with emails, some people want phone calls, some people want face-to-face. So my goal would be to find out from each one of you, how is it that you best communicate? And what would make me a best communicator is if I communicated to you the best way that you receive it. And so I would want to make sure that that's what I was doing. Obviously, I would want to give you updates, how often or how little as often as you prefer, right? I like weekly updates. That's my personal preference, but you might want bi-weekly or something like that. I think that's really important from a superintendent to a board, and the method could be decided by the board. I think it's important for the superintendent to build trust and to help build cohesion amongst the board. In my many years of experience in working with boards, they don't always get along. I'm not accusing you of anything. But the reality is that sometimes people disagree. We're dealing in high stakes here. This is students' lives and education. And so sometimes we disagree. People disagree. Superintendents should help bring cohesion, should not be causing the division, should try to be building ideas together, bringing people together so that we can come to make the decisions that are necessary for the district. And as I said before, finally, the secretary of the board making sure that the agendas and minutes and all the notes and things that you need are available, and that those minutes are shared publicly as they're supposed to be and available in that part of the job as well. So that's how I would see the superintendent board.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, I can't remember the thing. You find yourself in a respectful disagreement with a board member on a specific issue. How would you proceed?
I love the question. Thank you. So first of all, there is no reason to be disrespectful in public or in private. Well, I would treat each board member as a professional and give them the courtesy of treating them as professional. But given the scenario that you've given, I'm guessing this scenario is happening in a live board meeting. That's how I'm taking it, okay? So in a live board meeting, there's all of a sudden a disagreement. Well, the first thing that we want to do is make sure we all understand. Are we all on the same page with understanding what it is that's we're being talked about? Let's clear up any misunderstandings, number one. Number two, we're going to be respectful to that person without casting aspersions on any person. I believe the superintendent should share their ideas and then listen to the ideas of each board member. I don't think that it's not a one-man or one-woman show. It's a group working together. If possible, if it's that level of division, unless there's some reason I can't foresee, I would postpone the item. Why sit here and cause this great destruction, break down relationships? Postpone the item, meet with that board member afterwards privately, see if we can come to a consensus, or maybe an arrangement can be made that better suits both parties. But ultimately, if that can't happen, right, and it may not, right, people do disagree about the ways of doing things, then ultimately the superintendent presents it, the board is responsible for voting. And whatever the board's response is, that's what the superintendent's going to smile, share with the community, whether it's his decision or not his decision. That's my personal opinion. That's the role of the superintendent. I don't understand these. I mean, they're highly entertaining, but flipping over chairs and yelling at the top of your lungs is made for television and shouldn't be happening in a board meeting. My opinion.
Okay, Mr. Brian Thomas, we have question number 7. And here it is. To what degree do you believe responsibility should be delegated to principals, and how would you hold them accountable for accomplishing those responsibilities?
Absolutely. I believe day-to-day operations at the school level are the principals. And I say that's because the principal's there every single day. I think micromanagement does not get the best out of people. It'll get the best out of you if you're the one doing the micromanaging, because you're going to have to work doubly hard. Or you can help empower that person. And so that's really the better part of the question is how do we get results? Well, you sit down with your administration teams and you build plans together. Everybody wants success. Nobody wants to look bad. Everybody wants to win here. This is home of the champions, right? Everybody wants to win here. So let's help them win. How do you hold them accountable? Well, you develop a plan together, and then you check in on the plan. It's really, we overcomplicate things sometimes. I understand there's lots of moving parts and pieces, but really, as long as we're checking, as long as we set the goals, and we're constantly looking back at it, like we've set markers along the way that we know what we're looking for, then it's conversations. Now, at the end of the year, obviously, we have a principal act. We have to do evaluations of school administrators. But I think long before you get to the end of the year, you've talked with these people day in, week out, and set these kind of quarterly, hey, let's look back. We said we were going to get this accomplished and this accomplished. How's it going? And then you can hold them accountable on a real-time basis, not from the beginning to the end of the year, beginning to the end of the year. That's a long time to wait when you could have made changes along the way to make it better. So that's what I would want. I would want a cooperative relationship. Everybody's, as already been mentioned in the question earlier, everybody's already got a lot to do. There's not enough resources to hire extra people everywhere probably. So let's not give somebody more to do than they can accomplish. Let's help them accomplish it. And let's not try to do their job for them. We hired them. You hired them. The board, that's your job. You hired them. Let's let them do their job and equip them to. If there's ever a problem, there's a process. That's the reality. If there's ever a problem, there's a process. And again, you treat people with fairness, kindness. Usually, they understand. If you've done everything up front and you've been right with people, they're either going to be really good to you or true to you, or they're going to go on and go elsewhere, because they know that it's all been taken care of. Everything's been said. They know what's happened up to this point, and they'll move on and find something better for them to do if they're not going to be a part of that plan. But that's rarely the case when you've worked together close with people.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
High performance by students and accountability are priorities for us. How would you assess the current student performance and teacher effectiveness in our school system?
I give you all a packet. If you would turn to page 5, I'd appreciate it, and I'll use this packet to answer that question. So I looked actually at your data, and so how would I judge? Well, first of all, 92 was the last posted, this is actually federal report card, this is the 5th page. Your federal report card scores, and actually there's 3 years there of your system. This is system scores, not specific schools. I decided we'd keep it kind of high, look at it from really high up. So you went from B to an A, and I think that continues this year. Good things that I'm hearing, it's going to continue. So my first response is I think good things are happening here and have been happening. There's been a specific plan. If you look on that page and look at the academic achievement, you're going to notice over the last 3 years, and again, this is what's currently reported. There'll be more data coming. Excited about it. It's going up. 64, 67, 69. You're fixing to hit into that 70 number, which you may not know is phenomenal. Okay? It's headed in the right direction. So how would I say your teachers are doing? As a whole, again, now we're looking at the whole group, I'd say your teachers are doing really, really good things here. And that's phenomenal. I also see academic growth being nearly maxed out. I think you're going to hit 100% on graduation rate. If you look at the next page, your chronic absenteeism, and this is something that the state is really working hard on. The state is leading the rest of the country in this, but it looks to me like Haleyville's leading the state in this. Look how well your chronic absenteeism, that should shrink, right? It should get smaller and smaller. That's those students missing excessive number of days. And then I see that college and career readiness, which is now a graduation requirement. So our graduation rate can never be higher than our CCR rate. So understanding, if we want our graduation rate high, we got to get a CCR rate high. And Haleyville's doing that. So first things I say are real positive, right? Okay, now the next page. And this is not necessarily a negative. This is a caution. Okay? Caution. This is let's not lose sight of this as we go forward. Okay? That if I was superintendent and I was meeting with the board, I would pull this data right here and say, what are we going to do about this? Because a few years down the road from now, this might be an issue for us. Okay? So what is it? Well, if you look at the top line, the top row, proficiency in English language, now this is over a 3-year period of time. You see the percentages going down. It's not the area that we want to see. We want to see that one going up, because that means these students are meeting proficiency on the access exam that they're given. So this number is trending in the wrong direction. It's not majorly problematic right now, but it's trending in the wrong direction. If you look down to the third row, from the top, third row, students with limited English proficiency, you see this is actually a demographic number. That means this is the number of students as their percentage is for the whole student body, which means students with limited English proficiency made up 6.7% are now 9.3%. That means it's a growing population. If that population is growing in number, but our scores are going down, those are going to become problematic over time. So, just asking for me, this would be an area I would want to say, we might want to look at what are we doing for EL students and what do we need to plan on in the future? What does our long range numbers look like? How's that going to impact our school and how can we help? That would be a thought for us to examine a little closer. All right, and then finally, on this document, you're going to see your ACAP scores. That's 3rd through 8th grade. You have some phenomenal ACAP scores. You'll see the line that's through those bar graphs. That's the state average. You're well above the state average. You can see growth going up in math and ELA. And I've heard some astounding numbers about the new data that's going to be coming out. I think they're going to be able to celebrate a lot of things. And then lastly, ACT. ACT is harder to move. I know y'all had a really good ACT score this past year. But ACT is, if you'll look at it across time, you see there from 2015 to 2024, this is the composite score. It's really not moving a lot. And so what can we do to help those students prepare for the ACT? On page 10, you'll see the actual state's scores. You're still above the state scores. So we're doing good things. Don't get me wrong. I sound little bit critical here. You're doing really good things. Your teachers are doing really good things. But there are some little areas that we might want to look at. How can we move those areas a little bit to try to do a little bit better? So that would be my, I guess, my examination from a really high view, because then you would get down to the level of teachers. I walked through a classroom today, and they were doing student data reviews. They were having their data meetings, and they had data walls up. Your teachers care about those students and where they're moving. It was phenomenal to see. When I walked down the halls, kids were learning. They were in classrooms. There's not chaos going on. So my assessment is good things are happening at Haleyville. We need to continue and probably look at some of these smaller issues and say, hey, what can we do to get better there and continue the good work that we're doing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next question. Based on what you know of our school system, what do you think is the greatest potential for improvement?
So I hit on some of those. I'll hit on two areas. I did say EL, and I do still think that EL is going to be an area that you can make some difference in. And the other area is in special ed. Across the state of Alabama, school systems are struggling with what to do with the growing special education needs. The state passed the RAISE Act, and that's phenomenal, and we're very excited about the RAISE Act and the funds that it can do to help those students specifically. Now, I want to throw something to you, and I'm just giving you information. You might need this later. The RAISE Act comes with great accountability. And I don't know how long y'all served on the board, but there used to be something in schools called AYP, Annual Yearly Progress. And it could cause your school system to go in under the watch care of the state and all these things. There are provisions built within the RAISE Act that are just like AYP. And so I'm bringing awareness everywhere I go. What you're doing with that money now, you better think about it 5 years from now. Because if it's not having the intended results in those areas, special ed, EL, and also in high poverty areas, if it's not having the intended effect, the state can tell you, you got to move that money. Well, what if you put all that money into teachers and now those teachers are tenured? So what I'm getting at here is we have two areas of need that need to be looked at very closely. But the funding that we've been given to address those needs, we also need to be careful how we spend it. And we better have a plan, because 5 years down the road, they're going to check in and they're going to look at your scores and they're going to say, did you do what you're supposed to do? It says within the law itself, it says within the law that if you don't meet the goals, the state can come in and tell you how to spend your money. So I think we need to be very cautious, but also we need to be forward-thinking and coming up with ideas to help move those two areas. That's what I would say, and based also on that last answer, I would say that you might want to look at ACT scores, boot camps, and that sort of thing to help those students. Yes, sir. I'll get one while you get your glasses. Okay.
Describe your experience in developing, implementing, and evaluating curriculums and instructional programs to raise student achievement. And what steps would you take to create a culture of high expectations for those you are in charge to lead?
I'm very well versed in the research of a gentleman by the name of Bob Marzano. And you may not be familiar with his work, but he is probably the premier researcher in education, specifically educational statistics. And he did research on what makes a school highly reliable that they will have successful outcomes. Graduate students. Students are prepared for college. He didn't look at what textbooks they used, what programs they had. That wasn't important. What did they do? And I'm talking about, he's looking at research over 40, maybe 50 years of time. And he began to find that there are certain characteristics that schools have in common that are highly, highly successful. And so it goes through this whole process of what does it mean to be highly reliable. This has been done in the car industry, right? The major car manufacturers don't want to put a car out that they've made hundreds of thousands of them and people don't like them. They want to know with high reliability that that car is going to sell. So they go through steps and they're constantly checking back. They're constantly checking in. And that's really the key here. How is it that we can evaluate or set these goals and know that we're being successful? So to answer your question about curriculum specific, what we've done is we put into place some key practices. And then we said, okay, here's how I'm going to know that this practice is being effective. And then here's when I'm going to check in to make sure it's being effective. And if it's not being effective, here's the steps I'm going to take to reevaluate. We did this with math curriculums. We implemented some very specific things. We had developed math guides. We took our teachers actually were part of the creation of it. And we started early grades. We're talking second, third, fourth grades. And they began spiral reviews, which means they were always building up. Every week they were building up, but they were also still going back and catching those things that they had learned earlier, and they're spiraling up. And then we did that, and we put in a few other steps, and then we let it take time. And we watched it. We were seeing all the markers that we thought were good. And so in our system, what we found, our fourth grade NAEP scores were some of the highest, not highest in proficiency, but highest in growth from pre-COVID to after COVID in the country. To the point that the nation's report card, which is an annually it's annually published, put DeKalb County schools on the market, and we're nobody, right? We're small rural Alabama. To the point that we're getting phone calls. We did publications with NPR, National Public Radio. There is a YouTube video. I can give you the link to where you can listen to that. Or we were on NBC Nightly News and Lester Holt, and all that come to small town Alabama. So my answer is we have done that very work with curriculum. But instead of trying to do all the work at one time, we involved the teachers in it. We did it methodically over time with a checks and balances system built in. And now we're moving it up. We're scaling it up. We're just going to keep on going with it, bring those scores all the way up. That's how we've done it in DeKalb County.
The next question is, how would you approach the budget process to ensure success during financially challenging times as it relates specifically to programs like, but not limited to, special ed, federal ed, career tech? And you can address those individually or collectively.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I think the superintendent should be highly involved in the budget process. So the first part of the question was to ensure success. Now, to my knowledge, I got to meet your chief financial officer, and her books are good, and everything's great, and everybody loves her, and she's doing a wonderful job. So first of all, kudos to that person. Keep them happy. Keep them on the job. The first right now in Alabama, I'm just going to be real transparent here. In Alabama, systems either have really good CSFOs or they're getting rid of them because they're not meeting the demand. So if you have one, you better keep them.
Clarify that for me. They're getting rid of them because they don't have the demand? Is that what you just said?
No, I'm sorry. They're not meeting the demand. Let me clarify again. The CSFOs, there was at a state meeting, I'll be careful because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. At a state meeting, it was said that there were about 8 to 10 systems in the state that were not meeting the demands necessary from the CSFO to be financially viable.
Gotcha.
Okay?
I understand what you're saying.
Okay. I apologize.
If I went mid-sentence, but I want you to clarify that.
No,
Thank you.
absolutely. So I
They
would
were spending
say,
more money than they had.
yes. So I would say, first of all, you got to work really well with that individual. And the superintendent needs to know It doesn't need just to assume or expect it's all going well. No. Know where we are. Be a part of the process of the budget. Be a part of each part of it. And there are different pots of money, and you have to know where each one's going. You have to know what they're able to be spent on and what they're not able to be spent on. Because ultimately the superintendent is signing, right? Superintendent signs the PO or signs off on it. Is it going where it's supposed to go? I think the superintendent has that responsibility to know that money's going where it's supposed to go. Now, the next part though is what do we do beyond that? Because you asked about specific groups, you asked about special education, federal programs, career tech, which are all three highly federally funded programs. What happens if they decide not to fund them? And I think the answer there is going to come with great cooperation between you and the current workforce, because I believe that there are manufacturers, there are businesses, there are industries out there that will tell you today they need people that will come to work. And so I believe they would value partnerships, which means they might bring in the equipment. Hey, if you'll train them on my equipment, then I can hire them when they leave your. So I believe there's some partnerships that we should look to. I believe you got to take advantage of every grant opportunity. If there's money out there for our system, we ought to be going to get it. And every year I hear of money being left on the table that people did not apply for. And that shouldn't happen. Like, if it's just the work that we need to do to capitalize on those funding opportunities, I think we should. Then beyond that, you do have to look. Every program should be long-range planning, right? So is the money I'm spending today only good for today? Or is it in something that will last tomorrow, a year, 2 years, 3 years? So what is our long-range planning? I would think that's very important to make the money last, to make it go far. Again, I mentioned earlier about your system, where you rank locally funded. And I can tell you, coming from a system that's fourth from the bottom in locally funding, we've learned how to stretch our dollar and make it work, make it happen. Can this funding be spent and support 2 programs instead of 1? Can this funding be spent in a way that then brings in revenue behind it? How is it that we can take what we already have and make it go further? I think those are the types of conversations you have. You have them with your CSFO, you have them with the board, you have them with business leaders and with community leaders, and try to find out what else can we do to make our system a leader even in hard times. And hard times can come, but I believe if you've prepared for it, I know y'all here have done some good preparing. You have a really good month's reserve that you required that 1, and you are well above the 1. You've done some planning and preparation, and I think that's phenomenal, and I think that goes to the work that's been already done here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, when a new superintendent is hired, you want to make the transition as smooth as possible for everyone. How would you help both the educational community and the community at large adjust to the new governing style that would come with the leadership of you as a new superintendent?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. I would start by saying that you don't come in making major changes, first of all. You don't come in and make major changes. You have to take time to learn, and for everybody to learn you and you to learn them. So on transition, I think being present is very, very important. So the easiest place to meet people is probably Friday night under the lights out here. We can greet and talk. I think I would want to meet with every faculty member. I would want to go see them, talk to them. I would want them to know me. I would meet with administrators and talk about their goals and their plans. I would want to meet with the board and us have a work session just on what it is that you want to see. What do you want to achieve? Where are we at in our current strategic plan? Is there any tweaks that we need to make? and let's get to work on making that happen. A town hall, an open house, come sit down and spend time with me. Ms. Jones, me and you did a lot of talking today, and I believe I could do some more talking. I don't mind. I like people, okay? I'm in this business. This is a people business, and I like talking to people and getting to know people, and that's exactly what I would want to do. Every civic leader, every government official, the senator that didn't come shake my hand, he needs to come shake my, I'd want to meet these
He
people.
apologized.
That was a joke. That was a joke. And I don't want to offend the senator. That'd be a bad way to start. This place is a place of hometown family feel. And how does hometown family feel? It does it at church, and it does it at home when all the family's coming over to eat dinner. That's how you meet people. And so anybody would invite me over for fried chicken, I would come. Like, how do you make this easy? It don't have to be hard. You just have to be present, be available, and let people know what it is you're here to do and here to accomplish. Everybody here is wanting the same thing. This is a big goals place, and I like that. We have high expectations and dreams, and I like that. I have high expectations and dreams. Those things go together. This is not challenging. You talked about differences in leadership style. I know your former superintendent, know of her, been in meetings that she's been at, and I'm sure she and I would not be exactly the same, but I do believe in leading and leading well, communicating and building relationships, and I think I could do that and accomplish that quickly. I don't think that's a hard thing to do. You just have to give the time and effort to do it. You're welcome.
All right. So based on what you know, how do you think you and your family will adjust and fit in both our school community and our community at large?
So as I was driving at the point there, this is a small town feel. Beautiful. I drove through beautiful scenery coming here, trees. I seen farm equipment and lumber, and you know what I thought of? I thought of home. That's what I thought of. I recently, earlier this week, received an award I was not expecting. Top 20 leaders of DeKalb County. And I was a little shocked by it, and they made me write up, or asked me to write up some answers to some questions. And I'm going to read for you what I wrote, because I think you could insert Haleyville into this statement. This is what I wrote about DeKalb County. DeKalb County means home. It's the place where families come together under the Friday night lights, or at the backyard cookout, or in the pews of their local church. It's the place where the beauty of the outdoors shines and people know true Southern hospitality. Strangers greet one another. DeKalb County is home. I think that's what Haleyville is. That's the impression that I get from the people. It's the things that I read on Facebook when people talk about this place. How would we fit in? I grew up in a small town country, had cows, had a little cattle farm, know hard work, know what it means to live and love family and celebrate successes and work hard for it. I think it'd be easy. I think it'd be real easy.
How do you plan to communicate with the public on matters of school concern? And how do you plan to deal with an individual parent who is upset over their child's grade, punishment, or athletic problem?
Good question. So when you talk about large concern, and unfortunately in today's society we run into some big issues, whether it's school threats or we're having to change the way we do something, and people need to know. How would I deal with that? Well, number one, I want to communicate, and I want to do it as quickly as possible, to be honest. Now, I recognize that we have a responsibility to people involved. You don't always give out all their personally identifiable information. You can't talk about everything that happens. People do have certain rights and protections, but generally you can provide enough information to let the community know that everything's going to be okay. I think it's the superintendent's responsibility when something happens to let people know that it's being handled and being taken care of. I would personally do that through all sources that we have available. I like the idea of the superintendent's memo, which means it comes from the superintendent's desk, wasn't written by somebody else, it was written by the superintendent. And it lets people know that the superintendent's involved and it's being taken seriously. I would share that through social media, through the website, through all call systems, emails, texts, however the system chooses to give information out to family and community and parents. I believe that sometimes people just give one statement, but it's an ongoing issue. Why don't we take time to follow up? People care about it. Don't believe me, open up Facebook, they're talking about it, right? People care about what's going on in school. So let's talk to them. One of the worst things that happens in school systems is that the school doesn't tell their story, they let other people tell it. And so they make it up as they go and tell it, spin it, whatever direction they think's the right direction, instead of just telling the story, good and bad. And if you'll tell more good than bad, people will know what you're really about. So I think you take the time to tell it and to share when you can. Now, obviously, we have areas that we have to be careful. We have privacy, and we need to follow those things. But if we could tell a good story and tell people how we're taking care of their students, we're doing a good thing. Now, you ask a more direct question, what about when it's a parent who's upset about grades, punishment, athletic problem? All three of those areas means that somebody made a decision, whether it's teacher, grades, punishment, usually an administrator, athletic problem, maybe the coach. Those are employees of ours. All right, so if they're employees of ours, number one, I don't want to sell them short without giving them an opportunity to find out what's going on. So this is a time when you're gonna listen. And you're going to listen again. You're going to listen to the parent with their concern. They need to be heard. They're not at your door without reason. Now, they may be wrong, but they're still there because they're upset and concerned. So you bring them in and you listen and you hear them out. Treat them with respect and fairness. And then you go to that coach, teacher, principal and say, let's talk about what's going on. And then again, we go back to the same processes before. If we follow the same processes, we can be fair to everybody. And that's simply saying, I'm going to come back, I'm going to let you know the decision that was made, I'm going to tell you why it was made, and then we're going to stick to it. Hopefully, the teacher did right, the principal did right, the coach did right. That's your goal every time. Sometimes you protect them as far as you can, but in some cases, if it's something that needs to be fixed, we fix it. But we do so with keeping everybody informed and in a respectful manner.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Give us your opinion on the role of technology and the use of technology-driven instructional programs in the classroom. Please include the role of artificial intelligence in your response. If applicable to you, please describe a time when you have led the implementation of new technology in your current district.
Okay, so I need to start by saying I believe in a balanced approach to technology. Because as soon as I tell you a little bit more about me personally and my family, you're going to think I lean heavily on tech. I believe that there's balance. That our students need to be prepared when they leave here that they're going to be in a technology-rich environment. Because chances are they're going to be in a technology-rich environment. Their jobs, whatever, AI is changing jobs and careers left and right. And we want our students to be able to compete in those markets. But we also, there's nothing wrong with paper pencil learning at times. That's why I say I believe in a balanced approach. We want our students to both have good understanding and knowledge, to be able to think on their own, to be able to write down their own ideas. And AI is kind of making that area a little gray. little concerning in some regards, but it also has opportunities for them, and there are jobs we know that haven't even been developed that are going to come about because of AI. So I want every graduate to live here to have choices. I'm going to go to work in a construction job, and I want them to be successful with that. Be able to read that tape measure and be able to mark the wood correctly and cut it the right length, right? Well, that's practical skill. But also if they need to use a computer or something else to innovate, right? I want them to be able to do that. So I believe in a balanced approach. So let me give you my background. I was technology coordinator. My wife is technology integration specialist, and my sister is associate provost at Lamar University and their leading presenter on AI. So we have a lot of AI at my house. We talk a lot about technology, and I do think that we need to be on the forefront of it. You ask about initiatives that I led. In my district, I led a one-to-one initiative. First before that, a bring your own device initiative, a one-to-one initiative. We started the first technology conference in our district, and we're now working currently on how to prepare teachers to use AI effectively, because that's important. Right now I'm getting a mix of, I have parents calling saying, oh, my child, all they're doing is using AI all day. And then I have some saying, well, they're not allowed to use it at all. So we're going to equip teachers with the strategies necessary. We're also going to equip teachers to know how to change their instruction in the classroom. How can I be sure? Like that's the question that's asked me. Dr. Thomas, how can I be sure that the student knows it? Well, if we just change the assessment, so the assessment's done in class, maybe the assessment's done without devices, or maybe the project is so complicated that it requires them to think in a different way. We have to equip our teachers with the appropriate strategies so that they know what to do. It's evolving so quickly. If we don't have good policies, and that's a board issue, we need good policies on AI. How are we going to use it? What is our expectation? And we also need to help equip our teachers to use it in the right ways. I don't think you're going to get rid of AI. Obviously, it seems to be expanding everywhere you look. It's AI this and AI that. So we need to be in front of it because our kids are going to use it, and we want them to use it in a way that equips them. What I believe is this: innovation with guardrails. Let's give them a place where they can create and build. Your system, STEM certified through Cognitive, fantastic. Give them ways to innovate, build, and grow their minds, but let's do it within the guardrails where we're setting this up so that they can be successful and not failures.
I think we've got time to run over these that we did earlier, don't you?
Sure.
Okay, we added
Off
a
the
few.
cuff on you. You
Yeah,
good?
we added a few this morning because we had the time.
Sure.
And one of them was to describe your experience in developing, implementing, and evaluating curriculum and instructional programs to raise student achievement.
Okay, so in developing curriculum, so I'm going to go back. We have done a few different things over the years in developing curriculum to raise student achievement. Number one, we did a targeted analysis of the district to find out what is the areas that needed to grow the most. So for us, I'm going to talk about EL for just a moment. For us, it was in our EL population. They were dragging the farthest behind. And so what we did was there are lots of curriculums, paid products out there. We evaluated them we brought them in. We brought in experts in the field, and we evaluated the curriculums. But we wanted to find what was best for our students. And so we found a curriculum that we liked, but we didn't like everything about it. So we had our teachers build a back end to it. And then we went out and found we wanted bilingual teachers, and they're hard to find. So we went out and found as many bilingual as we could. We found some aides as well that would help. And right now, EL auxiliary aides are seemingly the better way to go. They're easier to find. And we put them into action with this curriculum. And then basically what we, as I told you before, we always look back. And so we looked, did we have the results on the access exam that we expected? And where are we failing at? We also had an influx of newcomers. So these are people who were brand new to the country, who had no English speaking skills whatsoever. So we put them in a targeted program, short term, to get them prepared so that then they could be successful in the next step. And so that's the example I would give for curriculum. We've done it in math as well, and actually did some research on the Literacy Design Collaborative with SREB. So we lots to choose from, but that's one I guess I'll give you as an example today.
Donna, you have number 47.
Okay. How would you prioritize additions or cuts to the budget? And that's something we need to really think about because of all the bills that are up now and all the new RAISE Act and dipping into the Educational Trust Fund and things like that. So how would you go about prioritizing additions or cuts?
So you're talking about within our local budget here at Haleyville. You're not talking about the state budget,
It's
right?
just like,
Because I'd love to tell them what to do with their money, but
yeah, like if, I mean, you can, prioritize additions or cuts to the budget. Like when we do our budget or Miss Candy Marbit that I introduced you to earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to confer with her a lot of times in our board meetings about certain things that's on the agenda that we need to bring up and discuss to add to our curriculum or our facilities or whatever. It's just, the question is, how would you prioritize
Absolutely.
additions?
Absolutely. So first of all, when working with the budget, you got different fund sources that have different spending requirements. So when we talk about this prioritization, we want to have a needs assessment. You have a capital plan that gives your capital needs, but then when you're talking about making budget cuts, you're also possibly talking about staff, or you're talking about supplies or day-to-day things, right? So you're going to have to bring together these very different budgets that have different funding sources, and that's going to make a difference in what you can cut or not cut. In other words, money that's set aside for capital outlay, I can't just turn around and say, well, I want to cut that, move that money over here for this teacher because I don't want to get rid of this teacher. You can't do that. You have to cut the money where it can be cut. So that's the first question is, I would ask, where is it that we have to make these cuts? In other words, what money are we over budgeting in? So maybe we lost federal dollars, okay? So if we lose federal dollars, the first question I'm going to ask is there anywhere that local could take this up? Especially if it's people. People make a difference, by the way. Right? If you don't know that, it's not the programs, it's the people. People in your buildings are the ones making the difference every day. So that's usually the last thing that you want to cut. Sometimes people want to do that first. That's the last thing you want to cut because you're going to see a direct result in scores and everything else when you start cutting people. So I would look for other ways to cut first. Can we tighten up on this? Do we have, maybe we've been running this program and it's been good and we like it, but the program itself isn't going to make or break the people that are in the building. Let's cut that small program out of the way. Now, nobody likes cutting, okay? That is awful talk. Nobody likes it. If we do a good job on the front end, you hope that's not the case so that you can predict along the way. But I'm going to give you an example where I've experienced cuts, okay? So ESSER funding for all systems brought in this extra just money that was unexpected. But we knew then, at the beginning, this money's not going to be forever. So the plans we made with it ahead of time, we were already making plans of what was it going to be like without it. So if there were some roles, we hired some people along the way, but we told them on the front end, at the end, your job's going to revert back into a classroom position or it's going to go over here. We think this is really quality work, but unless new funds come available. And so that the people were prepared for the change. There's some forecasting that we can do now. We don't have the same types of budgetary fluxes that we've had years ago. Proration's been pretty much a thing of the past, and we hope that's where it stays at. So that helps. That helps us on the front end to be able to say, here's where we're going. But as far as those prioritizations, people's going to be last for me, programs are going to be first for me, because I can make school happen as long as I have people. You can give me all the programs, buy all the curriculums, textbooks, Chromebooks, buy whatever devices, but if you don't have anybody there to help those kids use them, you're in trouble. And so that's my priority.
That's part of your job right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many schools did you say that you had to do
We
that?
have 12 schools and a career tech center, and we also have a virtual program.
So,
Involving how many students total?
Total students
District.
right now is, it's about 8,200, I think, last time I looked at it. We range anywhere from 7,500 to 8,500 over time, in that range.
and with the funds coming in earmarked for certain things, you have to definitely take that into consideration.
Absolutely, it's a balancing act. That's exactly what you were talking about, is bringing her in and you talk about these, well, we feel like we need this, and she's balancing through those different groups and different pots of money, saying, and sometimes I'm sure she says, we can't do this here. We might could do it over here, we can't do this here. And that's the sign of a good CSFO and a good superintendent, when they say, hey, we want to achieve it, we're going to have to find another way to do it. We want to do it the right way.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's what's the second.
And that happens frequently, just to let you know.
Yes, good.
And ours is good.
Yeah.
So my question is, I want to know the why. Why do you want to leave home to come here? Why do you want to leave something that's so secure that you've been in? So it just
It's a great question.
give me your heart on it. I'd like to know that.
You 100% will get my heart on this. I'll be very, very, very transparent here, and I've already spoke a little bit about my faith. I believe that I'm not doing the right thing if I'm not following the will of my Lord. Okay? So for me, this is bigger than me. I have a great job. I'm in the best position you could possibly be in. But I've done it for 12 years. And I have amassed a great amount of knowledge in that 12-year period of time. And I woke up one morning and felt this very, very deeply within me. What am I doing with all this knowledge and experience that I have been blessed with? I feel it as almost a calling, that I need to do this. And it's just a matter of time, the right place, and the right time, in my opinion. And I think I'll be successful in it because I think I'm following where I'm supposed to be at. You're absolutely right. Leave everything behind. That's what I'm willing to do because I feel like it's the right thing to do. I am prepared to be all in, 100%, and work as hard as I've worked anywhere for this school system, because I know that I've got something to prove. And that's what can you do with all this information and knowledge you've been given. I don't want to waste it. That's the truth.
Well, I want to ask you the questions.
I'm good.
Ladies, anything else?
Our media that's not as quick with timing as far as Facebook and social media, our newspapers, our radio stations, how will you address them in issues to make our school shine when, like I said, Facebook's always trying to get the heads up on
Sure.
everybody else?
Sure. Well, I personally, again, something I do where I'm currently at, I develop relationships with all of those media partners. Matter of fact, I give them my number because I want them to ask me. I don't want them to ask somebody else.
Facebook?
I don't go to Facebook for your news. It's not always factual. And so regular communication. But to answer the question about when the negative things, you're gonna have to talk about those things. They're gonna come ask questions. So instead, get in front of it, have a conversation with them. I have found that works way better than letting them spin it. Now, I do believe in prepared statements, and the reason for that is I don't want words twisted. I don't want chopped up statements. I ask them to put it all in, okay? I'll be brief. I'll be as brief as they want, but don't take things out. That's one thing that I ask. But if you develop relationships with people, and they trust you, and you're helping them do their job. That's just reality. They got stories to write, they got papers to sell, and news to put out there. So if you'll help them do theirs, I believe they'll help you, and you treat them with fairness and respect. But if you do that, you also do it with all the good things. There's so many good things going on here. Clubs, organizations, groups, band programs, and golf teams that just won't let anybody else win because they're going to win it all, right? Like, let's tell the story, right? We do the job telling the story. And I think that if you do that regularly with them, the community gets the feel of the actual picture of what's going on here. And then when something negative comes along the way, they're not so quick to listen to Facebook. They're like, this don't add up with everything else we hear from them. What's going on here? There must be more to the story. So I will be partners with them.
That's good. Okay, is there any additional information that you would like to share with the board?
Yes, just a brief statement, if I could. Number one, again, let me thank you. It is a great opportunity to come here and speak to each one of you, and y'all have been so gracious to me and all the administrators, teachers, staff. You have a phenomenal district, and I just want to say a heartfelt thank you. It's always good to meet good folks and to know that people are working hard for students in their districts. I do think that I fit a lot of the things here that are going on specifically. You had a dynamic leader. She did dynamic work here. You need to continue that work. When I look at what I bring to the table and what you have, I was just looking there, I mentioned your local funding, you're 100, I don't know if you know, you're 101st out of 139 systems. That's not good, that's low. DeKalb County's 135th out of 139. I know what it's like to run a tight ship as far as fiscal accountability and make things stretch and work. And so I see your need and I'm like, that's the experience that I have. You have a rising EL population. Right now you've got 9.3% students with limited English proficiency. I come from a system with 21.22% students with limited English proficiency. I understand some things that might need to happen here. I've seen the literacy and math initiatives, and we've done literacy and math initiatives in my district, and I'm thinking that's the same work. We can continue that work. You have concerns over teacher retention. My doctoral research is in teacher retention in rural Alabama. I just, the more I looked at you, and you asked the question why, I feel like there's some things I can help with because of how I've come along. You're STEM certified, and I have tons of background knowledge in technology and its integration and development in districts. You need somebody who can come in and bring a smooth transition and bring the community together, and I think that's what I excel at. I'll tell you, there's one thing, I guess, if I had a goal for this district, as I was researching you, and as you have probably been researching me, I found a statement, a sentence, on the city's website. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to read it to you. It bothered me. I didn't like it. So here's the sentence. You know, what in the world's on the city's website? It says, and I read, Haleyville has its own city school system that is considered one of the better school systems within the state of Alabama. This is on cityofhaleyville.com. That one of the better struck me. That's okay. But then I also read hashtag Home of Champions. Hashtag Own a Mission. And I thought, that's not enough. That's not their goal. Their goal is not to be one of the better. So I guess what I'm saying is that would be my goal for Haleyville. Let's move from the better to the best. Because I think that's capable here. I think it's possible. Looking at what you've already done and the work that you're achieving and the trajectory of your school system right now, it bothered me. One of the better, the best. So that would be my statement. That's what I would like to do for Haleyville schools.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I want to say one thing.
Okay.
Brian Vickery and I were the escorts to introduce Mr. Brian Thomas around our school system. And I would like to say that I was very impressed with your demeanor, the way that you met everyone. You are a very personable applicant, and we appreciate your being so cordial. And this is really amazing. You did a lot of homework.
Thank you, that's right.
Brian, you want to say?
Thank you for coming. Thank all y'all for coming. But the one I'd like to thank the most is Juan. Thanks for being here today, buddy.
Thank you.
Gone above and beyond.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing? Chad, anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Thomas, thank you again for your interest in our school system. When we adjourn today, we would like to go to the high school conference room for a brief meet and greet to give you a chance to meet a few more of our people. We will be interviewing through this Thursday. Moving forward, someone from the board will be in touch with the next steps going forward.
Thank you very much.
Moving forward, going forward. I think I added that to it.